New CBS News polling shows Biden and Trump neck and neck in 3 states that could decide the 2024 presidential race. Biden has a narrow lead over Trump in Michigan, while Trump is slightly ahead in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. In all 3 states, voters rank the economy as their top issue going into the election. So for more on this, I want to bring in CBS News chief election and campaign correspondent, Robert Costa. All right, Robert, what are the issues that are most important to voters in these important swing states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, or I should call them battleground states, and Wisconsin?
It's so evident that the economy remains a central issue, but how people interpret the economy, the issues they want to address to deal with their own economic situation, that's a complicated question with complicated answers. For Democrats, it's evident right now when you look at these polls, they're looking at similar poll numbers and they're saying to themselves they need to activate that labor voter, the union member, in places like Pennsylvania, but especially Michigan, where President Biden has been repeatedly. I've been to Michigan with President Biden, spoken with him there, along with Sean Fain, the head of the UAW. They know that those working voters at times hear the call of the Trump campaign and his message on immigration, and it can be appealing to those voters. And so that's why Democrats are really trying to focus on the economy by focusing on labor.
Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell told Face the Nation Sunday that he still believes former President Donald Trump can be held criminally accountable for his role in the January 6th attack. I mean, I think his answer was sort of interesting, though, the way he phrased it. I want to play some of that.
I don't regret anything I said then. I haven't taken anything I said then back. But the answer to your question is going to be in the courts. The Supreme Court's going to decide that.
So you stand by your description of Trump as practically and morally responsible for provoking the events of January 6th and potentially criminally responsible and liable?
I don't know how many times you're going to ask me the same question. I stand by everything I said on January 6th and February 13th of 21.
I mean, Robert, I think she keeps asking because he's not exactly entirely clear that he thinks the former president is criminally responsible. But he said that, you know, the courts will ultimately decide. McConnell has endorsed Trump. What does this tell you about his support for the former president?
It's notable that as McConnell is somewhat cagey in how he talks about former President Trump, the leading Republican senator at the same time is in no way encouraging of the former president. He's not going to the barricades politically saying he stands with Trump on this issue and that issue. He's saying let it play out in the courts. And for McConnell and his wing of the Republican Party, the traditional Republican conservative wing, Trump is someone they almost have to work with now because he's the presumptive nominee. But there is very little, if any, love there politically for who Trump is or any respect for his character. And that's why McConnell made sure to say he stood by what he said about Trump back in late 2020 and early 2021.
So speaking of complicated relationships, Donald Trump met with Ron DeSantis over the weekend. What can you tell us about that meeting, what it was about? And I don't know, where does their relationship stand now? Do we have any idea?
After any bruising primary fight, there can always be some hard feelings. I think back to 1980 with Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush. Eventually, they patched things up, and George H.W. Bush, actually, as we all know, ended up on the Republican ticket as the vice presidential candidate. This time around, unlikely, based on my reporting, that Governor DeSantis is going to be the vice presidential nominee. But the Trump campaign wants him in their corner, helping with fundraising, helping with the campaign in Florida, which remains a crucial state. So they're trying to bring him back into the tent because they know there are some hard feelings still there about how Trump issued some stinging attacks during that primary race.
All right. Robert Costa, thank you very much.